Hello everyone. We are starting a lecture series on immunology and it is the first lecture. So let us start the discussion. Everyone, we all know what immunology is. We know that it is the study of body defense against an infection, right, or against diseases. Now, when we start to talk about immunology, the first question that should cross our mind is that we continuously, exposed to microorganisms, and many of which are known to cause disease, and yet we are not sick. I mean, all the time, it's not like that all the time we are sick and we become ill very rarely. Rarely means, suppose if I'm talking about an healthy individual, so it's a rarely, right? Once in a while. Now, with that, there are several questions that arise. The first question is this, that how does the body defend itself? What is the mechanism? What is the system in the body? What is the things that takes place in the body? And what is the whole operational thing that is going inside the body? That is the first question that arises. And then the second question is this. The first is that how body is defending itself. And if the body is defending itself, then when infection does occur, and when the infection occur, how does the body eliminate the invader and cure itself? All these questions we will understand by immunology. Apart from this, there are questions that you can think about it. Why do we develop long lasting immunity to many infectious diseases, right, that we encountered in our life? So all these questions we will solve in this lecture series. There are all many such questions that are addressed by immunology, which we will study to understand our body defense against infection at the cellular and molecular level. So now we are starting the actual thing. My name is Govind Tomar, and in the entire series I will be taking your lectures. Okay, so here we have the definition of immunology. So what is immunology? Immunology is the scientific study of how the body protects itself against infectious disease caused by different pathogenic microorganisms such as bacteria, we have viruses, we have protozoans, fungi, and there are diseases which are caused by parasites. Apart from this, helminths are worms that are known to cause disease. We know that we have ascariasis, which is one of the diseases that is caused by helminth. We have pinworm, we have loa worm, eye worm basically. So we have all these things. With this, we will first understand a term called pathogen, right? We will first understand a term called pathogen, right? This is the word, that is pathogenic microorganism. You know that any organism, okay, so it is a very basics. Before you proceed further, let me tell you, we are starting with the very basics and we will go till a very detailed and a deep discussions. So I'm starting with every concept, very basic concept, so that even the student who are at the graduate level, if they are watching these lectures, so they can get a clear idea about the lecture in immunology, right? So any organism which is capable of causing infection or disease, right? Any organism which can cause infection or disease, right everyone? That is actually a pathogen. And what is immunology? Immunology is the study that how the body protects itself against the infectious disease caused by the pathogens, right? We can have many pathogenic agents such as bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungi, and so and so. How the origin of immunology that takes place? The word immunity, when we talk about, okay, let me just erase this content so that it is visible. So what is the origin of immunology? We know that the word immunity, it comes from a Latin word which means free of or exempt, means free of something, right? So in the very initial, it was used in the context of being free of the burden of taxes or military con, conscriptions. So the meaning of immunology is free of, basically. But in medical terms, I just made myself clear what is the exactly meaning of immunology, right? So when we talk about immunology, what is the important thing that you must know, that it is not something which is a very recent branch, right? We'll talk about the history today. We'll see that our ancestor knows about immunology also, right? They practice such of many such things that we do today also, right? And today the idea that we have about the immunology, and in the today's era of modern medicines, we are of course developing many techniques, but we have the base that was already decided very earlier today that we will also understand. Okay, so let us now define one more definition, that is very scientific definition of immunology. So let me define this, and at the same time let me change the color. Okay, so immunology, it is a branch of biology that deals with the study of immune system, right? Okay, the body defense ability is the immune system. And immune system is not something like a single cell or a single tissue or a single organ. No, it is not like that. It is a complex network of cells. We'll talk about so many cells, natural killer cells, lymphocytes. We have a lot of cells to talk about. Tissues and organs that work together to defend the body against harmful substances such as pathogen, right? Like we have bacteria, viruses, fungi. We just discussed that any agent that is known to cause infection, that can cause disease. Disease. What is the meaning of disease? Disease means a state of uncomfortness. That is called disease, right? So harmful substances as pathogens and foreign substance. We'll talk about what the meaning of foreign here, right? It encompasses the understanding of how the immune system function, including the mechanism of recognition. This is something very important. In our body, our cells are very well trained to recognize the self from the non-self. And that is the basis of immunology, let me tell you for the first time. It is very important for you to understand, you are starting your medical career, or if you are in between your medical career, you must know that our cells are very well trained to recognize what is a self and non-self. And that is why organ transplant rejections do takes place, right? We'll talk about the complete immunology of the transplant rejections, that due to the different antigen, our body can recognize the self and non-self. That is why the rejections do takes place. So the body cells need to recognize and then response and also form memories. We just talk about this, that once we encounter a disease, our body develop immunity against that disease and try to keep us healthy or keep away from that particular disease for a longer period of time. And why it is so? Because our immune cells, or rather our body, our immune system has a property of memorization. We'll talk about the immunization and memorization in detail, right? So these are the three basic fundamental property of the immune system: recognition, response, and then formation of memories, right? Okay, as well as the development of vaccines. Now when we talk about immunology, the first and the foremost thing we start generally, that is vaccination. In the today's lecture also we will get an idea about vaccination, and I'll let you know that you know even at the ancestral level they know what is exactly vaccination, right? And therapies to combat the disease. It is very amazing to understand so many. Even right now I'm talking to you, I just touched the marker. A lot of pathogens are there on this marker, on my desk, on my laptop, right? On my earphone, a lot of pathogens. I can't see them, they are microbes, right? They are not visible from my naked eyes. Right now I'm inhaling so many microbes and pathogens, and so you are. But still we are, sitting in a good state. The whole entire credit goes to the immunity. We will understand the mechanisms. Okay, so who is under God curse? What was the earlier belief? The earlier belief was that if someone falls sick, so it is because of his or her bad work. So it was the interpretation of the people that if you are fall sick or if you are having a disease, that means you are a bad person. God is giving you curse, right? So this was the earlier belief, and then many discoveries, many things takes place. One such great discovery was that theory of germ theory, which was formulated by Pasteur, and then it was uh, further explained by Robert Koch. We'll talk about today that the diseases are caused by germs, right, or the pathogens or the microbes, and it is not something that is related with the curse of the god. Okay, so this is important. So did you know that from various archaeological evidences it was evident that men knew about diseases and their ill effect. Obviously, in those days, diseases were considered a punishment due to a bad deeds or evil thoughts, and the record history of immunology goes as far back as 430 BCE. Now think about it. 430 BCE. We were actually aware about immunology. I'll let you know that what were the thoughts of the, I should say, scientists. Let's use a word, probably scientists, even in the 5th century. I'll let you know about it, don't worry. Okay, so that is important thing for us to understand, that what was the earlier belief, right? All these lectures are from basics to the detail, so I'll cover each and every point that is important, right? So we know that, and I'm sure you know that earlier it was a belief that if we are following the results, it is because of our bad works. Now the question is that why do we need an immune system? Now think about it for a minute. Why do we need an immune system? The very clear cut answer of this question is that if our body lacks the immune system, then trust me, I can't sit in a manner in which I am right now, and you can't sit in a manner you are there and you are listening to the lecture. That's why we need an immune system. Okay. So the immune system is crucial for maintaining the health and well-being of an organism. Its primary function include identifying. That's just something very important. I told you identification, elimination, response, formation of a memory, recognition is something which are the characteristic of our immune system. Okay, of harmful pathogens, preventing the growth of abnormal and cancerous cells. Okay, so immunity is not only restricted to identify the pathogens only. No, it is not like that. Cancer, we'll talk about the cancer immunology also. You know, in our body, the cell division is highly regulated. Highly regulated. And trust me, even right now, if we scan our body, we have so many cancerous cells in our body, but they are not developing into tumors. The reason, our immunity has a check on them. Right? One of the reason of a cancer, now see, it is the very important statement I'm giving you. One of the reason for the cancer in any organism I understood is a bad luck. Yes. Right now I'm having a cancerous cells, and thankfully I'm not developing any tumor. It is because I have immunity. My immunity is checking on these cells and suppressing all these cells that are undergoing uncontrolled divisions. You probably have seen the person who chew tobacco and who smoke for their entire life, but they did not develop the cancer. And there are some people who maintain a very good hygiene, never take smoke and chew tobaccos and try to avoid any such kind of bad activity, but still they develop cancers. So sometimes I think about it that cancer is a disease of bad luck. Although there is a biological factors, we'll talk about it, but it is your luck if you are not getting cancer, then that's a very good thing. You must be thankful to your immune system, right? Immune system has a very good role in this. So it is not restricted to only pathogens, right? It is not only restricted that it do not allow the division of the pathogen inside your body. It is maintaining your body, overall body, and facilitating tissue repair after injuries. Of course, the function of immune system. Now, without the functioning immune system, the body would be, highly susceptible to a wide range of infections and disease, which could lead to the severe illness or even death. Obviously, there is one of the diseases that's called SCID, severe combined immunodeficiency. Severe combined immunodeficiency is a problem where the person lacks immune system, and it is very difficult for the child to survive. The main cause is that there is a deficiency of an enzyme that's called adenosine. I'm sure you have heard about it. Adenosine deaminase. Actually, it is an enzyme which is required for the bone marrow for the development of the functional T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. And this enzyme is produced by a gene known as ADA gene. And due to a mutation, when deletion, I'm writing deletion of this gene occur, the person develop SCID, means severe combined immunodeficiency syndrome, and it is very difficult for a person to survive. Although there are techniques to overcome these kid, but they are not that permanent technique. We have enzyme replacement therapy, we have bone marrow transplant, and so, and then we have gene therapy. But I'm sure you know that gene therapy is only success if it is done at an early embryonic stage, and which is very difficult. But still, we are progressing in our medical knowledge. Additionally, the immune system plays a crucial role in long-term protection. You know that, as it can remember, means can form memories. It can form memory previous encounters with the pathogens, providing a faster and more efficient response upon subsequent exposure. We just overcome a pandemic. At least in India, we have overcome such kind of pandemic. That is COVID. I'm talking about. What is the main principle of vaccination? We all were vaccinated. Immunization, so that body form a memory. If the pathogen comes again, and if we encounter the pathogen again, our immune system is well enough activated to kill the pathogen before the pathogen can overcome the body. That is what is important, that secondary response is very fast. We'll talk about it, okay, in our further lecture. But if you have a basic information about immunology, you are understanding what I'm trying to say. For the beginners, don't worry, I'll talk in detail. Okay, so this may not need any introduction. I'm talking about a little historical background of immunology. In this lecture, I want to give you an idea that immunology is not something which is very new, right? Immunology, if we just goes decades and decades back, well, or I should say centuries back, and many centuries back, I should say, we have the idea of immunology. So in the 5th century, that is, the concept of immunity from diseases can be traced back at least the Greece in the 5th century BC. During this time, Thucydides observed and wrote about individual who recovered from the plague, you know. So at least what I'm trying to say, that we have already an idea, from uh, so many years and years ago about the idea of immunology. Okay, so let's talk about the further advancement. In the 10th century, progress in the field of immunology. However, the earliest recognized attempt to intentionally induce immunity to an infection disease was in the 10th century. Now think about it, 10th century, so long time back, we were having an idea, right? Okay. In China, where smallpox, of course, I'll talk about the smallpox today. I'm sure when I talk about the smallpox, you encounter a name, your mind strike a name called Edward Jenner, which we also known as a father of immunology. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. So, where smallpox was endemic in the China, endemic means when a disease is localized to a region, or regularly found beginning around 1000 AD, the ancient Chinese practiced a form of immunization by inhaling the dry powders derived from the crust of smallpox lezines. So, what the slide is trying to explain is this: suppose if someone get smallpox, then after from this smallpox, what they did, they inhale the dry powders, and you can think about it. It is a kind of vaccination. So, body is taking the pathogens and they are giving the pathogen as a small amount so that disease won't develop, and they develop immunity. So our ancestors developed that much thinking about the cases. Anyway, so early observation, uh, ancient civilizations such as the Chinese, the same just I discussed about it. Notice that individuals who survive certain diseases seem to be protected from getting them again. They are not getting the disease again. Okay, and India and China, a practice called variolation. What is the meaning of variolation? Taking the virus exactly, right, in inactivated form or in these small doses was used. This involved intentionally exposing the same that Edward Jenner did, right? But in India and China, our ancient, look at the ancient wisdom. In today's modernization, we're talking about immunology, but our ancestors already knew about it, already know about all these things, you know. So the further progress is this about the variolation. It is the same thing. Okay, now this man again not need any introduction. You can see in the picture, he is Sir Edward Jenner, and what he's doing, he is doing a process of variolation. He is injecting the cowpox. Yes, actually, what he observed now, Sir Edward Jenner observed the milkmen, they are not developing a disease called cowpox. Then he realized that the person who is taking care of the cow, that means the milkman, is in a contact with the cow who are having a disease called cowpox. So the person is developing immunity against a smallpox also. Okay, so what Edward Jenner did, okay, we'll talk about smallpox in a minute. What Edward Jenner did, he injected the cowpox virus, from the infected area into the body of a child. After almost 2 months later, he then injected the small amount of smallpox virus into the same child, and he observed that the child did not develop any disease. Again, it is nothing but immunization and vaccination. In the ancient time, this practice was followed. That's why Edward Jenner is also known as father of immunology. Right? Let me see if my lecture is getting recording. Okay, fine. So now, if we are talking about smallpox, trust me, it is very important for us to understand about the smallpox. So let's talk about it. Smallpox was, although it is eradicated now, and it is now no more any disease, and the credit goes to the huge vaccination worldwide. Highly contagious. If suppose uh, if I am having a smallpox, then it is that much contagious that it is spread very fast. Highly contagious, highly deadly disease caused by variola virus, right? So there is a two disease. Do not confuse yourself with the chickenpox. For the chickenpox, there is a varicella. For the smallpox, there is a variola. So virus name is a variola virus, right? It has plagued humanity for centuries, causing severe illness, disfigurement, and death. So many, the body looks like this completely. Now see the person. See the first picture, which is so much normal, and see the second picture. So much blister, blisters formed. The virus reaches to the blood, septicemia occur, multiple organ failure occur, leading to the death. It is not just formation of, you know, uh, pustules on the surface. No, it is not restricted to that much. Then pus-filled blisters form. They rupture. The virus enter into the bloodstream, infect your blood. Septicemia occur. Blood would infect it. Blood reaches to the organs. Multiple organ failure occur, and death. You know. Anyway, the causative agent is the variola virus, and it belongs to the genus Orthopox virus. I should write it like this: Orthopox virus, or Orthopox virus. There is a no gap actually in between this. So it is a genus. The genus is Orthopox virus. Okay, you can see the how much disfigurement takes place of the body. So deadly disease. Now see the situation, everyone. I'm really, thankfully that it is eradicated, and thankfully for the doctors and scientists who developed the vaccine against it. Okay, see the situation. Now let me talk about the symptoms. High fever, very high fever, approximately 39 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius. The fever reaches up to this. Severe headache, backache, rashes, sores, blisters, pus forms blisters, pus develop, fatigue. And wait, hold on. The symptoms are not, you made it sounds like you, hey, it's just a high fever, headache, back. No, it's not like this only. I told you now that these rashes, sores, blisters become, a pus is filled, they start to rupture, pus start to comes from the body surface, virus reaches to the blood, septicemia occur, and then multiple organ failure do takes place. You know. Okay, so Edward Jenner now. In 1796, he is often known as father of immunology. Edward Jenner. He developed the first vaccine, and he used cowpox, a relatable but milder virus, causes disease in cows, right, to protect against the smallpox. So I discussed already what he did. He inject a small amount of the cowpox virus into a child, and then 2 months later he inject the smallpox virus, by using the needle into the body of the child, and he observed that the child did not develop any disease. That means the body of that children became immunized toward the pathogen, right? And this breakthrough led the foundations of the modern vaccination. Yes, exactly. Vaccination is administration of the inactivated or killed or weak is also known as attenuated pathogen into the body of an organism, so that the weak, attenuated or killed pathogen, okay, develop immunity inside the body. Today we have many such vaccines. We have mRNA based vaccines. We are at a very safer in the we are today in the very safer hand, actually, if we talk in terms of vaccine, because scientists have to be very, they need to be very careful while making the vaccines. And in earlier times it takes so many years to develop a vaccine against a particular disease, but now our techniques and modern medicines is at a high level of advancement, that we can develop vaccines in much lesser time as compared to the past decades. Anyway, so what is vaccination? Let me write it here. So it is administration of weak. Weak is also known as attenuated, killed, or inactivated pathogen, you know, into the body that elicits an immune response. That elicits immune response. That elicit immune response in the body and form the memory. So the principle of immunization is the memory formation. Then after the Jenner, in the 18th century, Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch. Robert Koch is known as a father of bacteriology also. Pasteur and Robert Koch, they laid the foundation of microbiology also. Amazing scientists, amazing work they perform. I'm going to talk about a little, So these scientists built on the work of earlier pioneers and made a key discoveries about microbes, germs, and the immune response. Pasteur germ theory, which was then further formulated and explained by, in much more detail by the Robert Koch. And Koch identification of a specific disease causing microbes were revolutionary. Yes, exactly. In the today's lecture, we are just talking about history. Now, Louis Pasteur, he did a lot of things, many of the research from the vaccines and so and so. He was a French chemist and microbiologist, made numerous important contributions in the science and medicine field, and some of the key discoveries I'm just putting here about the Sir Louis Pasteur. So he was the one who formulated germ theory of disease. And what is this germ theory of disease? That it and see, he actually did many such things. Anyway, now everyone, what was the germ theory of disease? The germ theory was disease is that disease is not something that is related with the God curse. He actually explained, he did so many experiment, and then he formulated that if a person is getting sick or ill, it is because of the microorganism. So diseases are caused by some kind of microbes, right? He gave the technique of pasteurization. You know what is a pasteurization? Then he gave the rabies vaccine, anthrax and chicken cholera vaccines. Aseptic techniques he gave autoclave, such as in your microbiology you studied what is autoclave and so and so. About he had a work in silkworm industry. Fermentation, he gave the principle about the fermentation. Vaccination principle, and in his honor there is a Pasteur Institute in the Paris. This is in the Paris, right? And he's a pioneer in the chemistry also, and he has contribution in the field of agriculture. Okay, so the discovery of the germ theory is typically credited to the French chemist and microbiologist, that is Louis Pasteur. In 1866, in 1860, Pasteur conducted a series of experiments that shows the microorganisms are responsible for spoiling of food and the fermentation of the wine. And he also demonstrated that these microorganisms could cause disease. And this exactly formed the foundation of the germ theory of diseases. This is very important. So this is okay. Now we'll talk about further things. Okay, now it is unpause. So I took a little break. Okay, so what we were talking about? We were talking about the germ theory of disease. We said that Sir Louis Pasteur, he formulated the germ theory. According to this theory, diseases are not caused by the curse of God. It is something that is caused by microbes. So with disease, microbes are associated. Okay. So how did germ theory affect the medical views? Okay, let me tell you, in the earlier brief of the Greek scientist, it was that there was a theory that was popular at the time that is known as good humor theory. There was a popular theory that is good humor theory. According to that, we have the humors in the blood. Humor means liquid. We have the blood, we have yellow bile, we have black bile, we have phlegm. So a balance of all these fluid in the body is represent the state of balance, means a healthy state. Any disbalance in the state of these humor, that represented as diseases. So that was our earlier brief belief about the good humor theory. So in the 1800, the medical community began to develop a greater understanding of the role of germs in diseases. Previously, most doctors believed that diseases were caused by an imbalance of the body for touches of humor. So it was believed that if black bile concentration increases, if its concentration increases, so it is hot in nature, it was believed, and you will be fever. You will suffer from fever. So what they do basically, they think that there is a bad blood that uh, accumulate in the body, so they made cut in the veins. So sometimes it led to death. Now think about a situation: a doctor, you came uh, to know that you are having some kind of a disease, and someone let you know that it is because of the imbalance in your body humors, and they made a cut in your veins. And if accidentally the cut made, it if accidentally something like some uh, heavy injury takes place and a lot of blood just flows out, it may lead to death. So, germ theory actually is one of the very important theory that was given by the Pasteur that laid the foundation of the microbiology ahead. Now, this man again not need an introduction. We'll talk about the germ theory in a little detailed manner. So, the original formulation of the Koch postulate. Basically, Robert Koch, he did also a lot of work in the field of bacteriology and microbiology. That is why Sir Robert Koch is also known as father of bacteriology. Sir Robert Koch is also known as father of bacteriology. And he put forth some postulate that we known by the name that Koch postulate. So according to the Koch postulate, the microorganism, if you are having some kind of disease, now I'm just toward the end of this lecture. According to the Koch postulate, it is the germs or the pathogens that are responsible for the diseases. It is not something else. It is not the curse of God. It is not the imbalance in the body humor. Rather, it is the organisms, it is the pathogen, it is the microorganism that are responsible for the diseases. So he suggested his first postulate was that there are microorganisms that must be present in every case of the diseases but absent from healthy individual. So suppose if there are two individuals, two person, one is healthy, one is diseased. So from the disease you can isolate the microbes, whereas from the healthy one you cannot get the microbes, because a disease is caused by microbes. So that is why the person who is having a disease will have microbes in the body. As simple as that. So this postulate implies that the microorganisms should consistently be found in individuals suffering from the diseases, and it should not be present in the healthy individual. I hope I made myself clear about the Koch postulate. Okay, and then he said the microorganism must be isolated and grown in a pure culture. Suppose if I'm having the disease, now you can take out my blood. In my blood, you can find the related microorganism, and you can put the microorganism in a culture media. The microorganism will show growth. Means we can take the microorganism from the diseased person and can grown in a culture media. Okay, so it must be isolated and cultivated outside the host organism in the laboratory, and this allow for the study of the microorganism characteristic and behavior. Suppose if I need to understand that, obviously I need to understand about the microorganism behavior, how can I kill my microorganism, what kind of antibiotics I can use, and so. So I need to take the microbes from my body, I can allow the culture, the microorganism shows growth in the culture, and I can study the organism characteristic further. Okay, now the third postulate rather is this: the culture microorganism should cause disease when introduced or inoculated into a healthy organism. Again, I'm repeating, if I am a diseased person, there must be a microbe associated with that particular disease and can be obtained from my body. The same microorganism can be grown in a culture. That is a second postulate. The third, if I reintroduce, or rather introduce, not reintroduce, it should be introduced, if I inoculate or introduce the pathogen from the culture media into a healthy person, then healthy person must develop a disease. And what it shows that the disease is caused by that particular pathogen. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? It's in a very simple word. If it is a first organism, the disease, this organism is diseased, that means there should be microbe associated with the disease. Now I'm taking out these microbes, allowing them grow in a culture media, so they will grow. And if I just transfer this microbe in a healthy person, then in this healthy person the microbes again divide and this person become sick, because the disease is associated with these microbes, right? So the isolated microorganism should be capable of reproducing the disease in a healthy host when introduced under controlled condition. Now from the second person, which is now diseased, now see, repeat, I am the first one who were diseased. You obtained microorganism from my body, you grow the same microbe in the culture, you introduce the culture microbe into a healthy organism develop disease. Now you can retake, you can re-isolate the same microbe from the second person body. So the same microorganism must be re-isolated from the experimental infected host. Now let me make it more clear by this diagram. Suppose it is a ship, right? It is a sheep. Why not to? Why we suppose? Okay, let me change the color for a minute. Okay, so this is a disease organism. Now the first scenario is this: if it is a disease organism, there should be a microorganism. So definitely this, okay, there is a microorganism. Now we isolate this microorganism from this organism and allow to grow in a culture media. So you can see that it is growing in the culture media. Now this organism, when we introduce into a healthy organism, this healthy organism must show the same disease that was shown by this organism. And if we re-isolate, or rather if we isolate the pathogen from this organism and again culture, then this pathogen and this pathogen would be same. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? Okay, so this is important. The same microorganism are present in every case of disease. Second postulate: the microbes are isolated from the tissue of a dead animal, should grow in a pure culture. Then inoculation of this pure culture into a healthy susceptible animal must produce the same disease that was in the earlier organism, and this same microorganism must be isolated from the culture or from the lysines or the body of the experimental or the second animal, right? That was the Koch postulate. Now see, the Koch postulate was that much important, and they laid the foundation of microbiology so much ahead that it was very clear that a disease is something that is relatable with the pathogen, some kind of pathogens. But you know, everyone, there are certain exceptions. I mean, it was a very important theory, no doubt, but today in many scenario this theory did not fit. Okay, I think I'm not on a pause. Okay, so Koch postulates, while foundational in microbiology, but they have some exceptions and limitations also. So very quickly I'm going to discuss the limitations. So there are certain organisms like some viruses. Obviously we cannot culture the virus. If an organism is diseased with the virus, I can't take the virus and put in a culture media. That means virus is an exception to the Koch postulate. Apart from this, there are certain bacteria that are highly, obligate, rather, they can grow only in the living medium. One such pathogen or one such bacteria I can, recall right now is this uh, Treponema pallidum that is known to cause syphilis, right? So, Treponema pallidum, or pallidum, I guess my spelling is correct. So, it can only be grown in a uh, living host. Similarly, there are other bacteria also. So there are certain fastidious bacteria. They cannot be easily isolated first of all and grown in a laboratory condition. So we must need an host for them to grow, right? This makes it challenging to fulfill the second postulate. Obviously, the second postulate is saying that we must able to grow the microorganism which is associated with the disease in a laboratory condition. Okay, so some microorganism cannot be cultivated in the laboratory. Apart from this, we said that in Robert Koch postulate, Sir Koch postulate is that if a person is diseased, there is some kind of pathogen associated with this. But now we know that there are individual, they are carrying the disease causing pathogen, but they are not showing any symptoms. They are without any symptoms. Such kind of person or such kind of individual, they are known asymptomatic carrier. That mean they are having pathogen in the body, but they did not show any characteristic symptom of that particular disease. In the COVID, there was several cases where many of the persons were infected by the virus, coronavirus, but because they have a good immunity about the COVID virus, so they did not show the symptoms. But the problem is that they shed the virus to many of the people and they make the people in their surroundings sick. Okay, so some individual may carry a microorganism without showing any symptoms of the disease. The carrier can still spread the microbe to the other. For example, a person with a latent tuberculosis. When we talk about the TB, we'll talk about the various type of TB. So we have latent tuberculosis. Infection may not exhibit symptoms but can still transmit the bacteria to other person. Right? So it is again one of the limitation to the Robert Koch postulate. Now, Koch stated, or rather Koch postulated that a disease is caused by a microorganism. So there should be a particular microorganism associated with that disease. But we know that there are several diseases that can be caused by a combination of microorganisms, right? So in that context, it is highly difficult to isolate a single causative agent out of the organism, from the organism. So this is seen in polymicrobial infections where an infection or a disease is caused by several microbes at the same time. Means many pathogenic organisms are responsible for that particular diseases. Hope I made myself clear. It is again a limitation. See, disease with complex pathogenesis. Again, in disease with multifactorial causes. Multifactorial causes means there are many factors that is attributing to that disease. Such an example, if I talk about autoimmune disorder, talking about multiple sclerosis or psoriasis or other disorders, you know, vitiligo, one such disorder. These are autoimmune disorders in which our immune system become hyperimmunized and attack on the cell and make us sick. No such microbe, no a particular microbe is associated with such kind of disease. That means this is also which is not fulfilling the Robert Koch postulate. Apart from this, such as atherosclerosis, we know that what is arteriosclerosis and atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis basically deposition of calcium and fat in the coronary artery, whereas at arteriosclerosis is the same deposition in any artery, causing blockage of the arteries, heart failure, heart diseases. These are something which are not associated with the microbes, right? So again, not fulfilling the Koch postulates. So it is a challenging to attribute these conditions to a single microbe. Host susceptibility. There are several factors that decide whether a person will acquire a disease or not. Suppose if someone immune status is very good, so he or she may have the pathogen, again as I said, asymptomatic person, or may not have disease. Okay, so there are factors such as individual immune status or genetic predispositions can greatly influence the outcome of an infection. Two individuals exposed to the same microorganism may have different disease outcome. Definitely, in the pandemic of COVID, we have seen that every one of us is not getting the disease though we were infected, right? It is just depends what our immune status is. I have used a word that genetic predisposition. Let me clarify, I'm talking about allergies here. You must know that allergy is something, allergen is not something which is antigen. There is a difference between allergen and antigen. A antigen has a equal effect over a population, whereas a allergen infect only those who have some kind of genetic predisposition in their body. So basically their mast cells, their basophils are highly active, and then they causes degranulation which causes further allergy. Again, not associate with a particular antigen, right? But having a disease. So everyone, this is about the today's lecture. So we talk about basics of immunology. We discussed a little bit about the history of the immunology also. I hope I made myself clear, right? Now, in my further lecture, in my next lecture, I'm going to talk about the origin of the vertebrate immune cells. So the lecture series is going to be an amazing series. So keep watching it and keep and do subscribe to the channel for any latest, information. Thank you so much everyone, and do share it with your friend if you found this information helpful. We'll see you in the next session. Thank you.